Mr. Dave Juday.
Thank you, Krista. Move your stool out of the way.
Oh, yes.
First, let me say congratulations to all 7 of you guys, and what an honor it was to actually be able to spend some time getting to know you guys. I think I taught 4 classes with you, so when I came in this afternoon and saw it was your class that was graduating, to me that was pretty cool. So this is the first opportunity I've had to be a commencement speaker here at ICB and to speak to you guys after having taught you guys or helped teach you guys in class. Again, it's my honor to share a few of my personal stories and to hopefully give you some words of wisdom as you move on. I'm not sure when each of you caught the broadcasting bug, but I knew that I wanted to be a sportscaster when I was in 7th grade. My language arts teacher assigned us a project for which we were supposed to interview someone who worked in the field that we thought we might want to go into someday. I was stuck and didn't know who to talk to, and Ms. Fredrickson said, "You like sports, and you obviously like to talk, so why don't you talk to someone in sports broadcasting?" Long story short, through some legwork and phone calls, I suppose you could say that I was running down my first ever story. I wound up speaking on the phone with Steve Stone, the current White Sox broadcaster, who back when I was in junior high had just started his Chicago career working alongside the legendary Harry Carey, calling games for the Cubs. I actually missed Steve's first phone call because my school bus was late that day. I wound up walking home with my friends, but he was gracious enough to call back during the team's layover at the airport. Several years later, during the last day of my internship at WGN Radio, I got to tell him that story in person about how he helped encourage a young 7th grader to enter the crazy business of sports broadcasting. He laughed and he said something like, "Well, I'm glad I wasn't a jerk to you that day." Fast forward a few years later to my high school days at Lyons Township in LaGrange. LT had a radio station and still does, WLTL 88.1 FM, and I took full advantage of the opportunities that the station had to offer, serving as the student sports director for 2 years, hosting 2 sports shows, delivering countless sportscasts, and calling play-by-play for just about every sport imaginable. One memory of my high school that stands out is during my senior year when our faculty advisor, Mr. Wiesmus, took several of us from the station management class downtown to the Loyola Radio Conference, which at the time was a pretty big deal, and featured guest speakers and panelists from many different aspects of radio and even the television industries. I really wanted to attend the sports session, which was held on a Saturday morning, so a few classmates and I took the train downtown together to check out the second day of the conference. A sportscaster who used to work at WGN Channel 9 was the featured sports speaker that day, and I was looking forward to hearing what words of inspiration he might have for an aspiring young broadcaster like myself. Boy, was I disappointed. For an hour, I heard that the industry sucked, there were no jobs available, the money was horrible, and that myself and the other people in the room ought to think about going into another profession. I was angry that I had wasted my time on a Saturday morning to listen to some clown belittle the field that I so desperately wanted to work in. And I vowed never to be that guy who focuses solely on the negatives of his job and couldn't bring himself to share any positive aspects to enter the same profession, any positive aspects about his career with some bright-eyed high school and college students who were about to enter the same profession. By the way, I did notice on Twitter that he's now a news reporter for the ABC affiliate in Los Angeles, so I guess he didn't hate his job that much after all. Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I didn't in class. I'm not going to lie now and sugarcoat everything and tell you that you won't face some challenges in your broadcasting career, because you will. We all have. My first job out of college was anchoring, producing, and hosting at a sports station in Indianapolis. I worked 30 to 35 hours a week, not quite enough to be considered full-time and qualify for benefits. And granted, this was 1994, but I made a whopping $6 an hour. And when I left a year and a half later to come to Chicago, I was making $6.50 an hour. Some of my colleagues and I used to tell our program director we could make more money flipping burgers and making fries for the local Wendy's down the street. And she agreed, but said that she'd have 50 guys lined up outside her office door that wanted our jobs if we decided to make that move. Fair point. No, the money wasn't great, but I had met my wife in college. She was a pharmacist for Osco, so I didn't have to worry about my salary. And the experience I got from that first job, it prepared me for every future step that I've taken in my career, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. As with the indie job, you're going to find pros and cons or pluses and minuses with every position that you try to tackle. After making the jump to Chicago with WMVP in 1996 and anchoring weeknight sports updates for 3 years, ESPN 1000 was launched in October of 1998. I saw the new station as a chance to expand my horizons, maybe land a better day part, but management saw my role differently, anchoring overnights. Trust me, it wasn't fun. And I really did think about walking away at that point. But after talking with several people who I consider mentors, they convinced me to stick it out. And after 6 months of overnights, I was demoted to part-time and became the jack-of-all-trades guy. But 9 months after that, I persevered and found myself returning to full-time status, taking over morning drive. From there, I moved to middays before landing in afternoon drive in 2001, after Dan McNeil liked what he heard and personally requested that I take over the sports updates for the Mac, Yurko, and Harry show. And I was in afternoon drive at ESPN up until my departure last December, when the station elected to cut budget and not to renew my contract. What a ride it was, for 19 years on one frequency in a major market like Chicago. All of the stories that I got to report on, both in the studio and in the field. When I left ESPN 1000, the question which I got asked the most was, what was your favorite on-air memory? It sounded bizarre that I'd pick this moment, but I thought back to 2002 and the Chicago Marathon, when I was asked to host the radio broadcast, basically serving as the play-by-play announcer. I had a great analyst named Cree Kelly for a partner that day, and we had several reporters riding in the lead vehicles with the elite runners and stationed around the course. Eventually, an up-and-coming runner from England, Paula Radcliffe, not only broke the women's world record that day, but she shattered it by over a minute, and I got to make the call. Something which didn't really sink in at the moment, but it really hit home when Cree asked me at the commercial break how I was feeling. I replied, okay, why? And that's when he said, you just called a world record. There aren't many people who can say they've done that. By the way, you can check that out on my SoundCloud page if you want to. It's there. Could I be angry or bitter or upset by my dismissal from ESPN 1000? Sure I could, but what good would that do? Besides, from the get-go, I knew that was part of the crazy, sometimes messed up business that I desperately wanted to be a part of. And it forced me to rethink my priorities and perhaps reshape what I wanted to do with what's left of my professional career, like spending time here at ICB, talking to you guys now, and returning for a second stint as an instructor some 17 years after my initial contact with Patrick Johnson when ICB used to be down that hill on 22nd Street, and I lived in the apartment complex next door called the Covington. I've always enjoyed guest speaking here and to high school students, and it seemed natural to return this year as a part-time instructor, excited about the chance to share my knowledge and passion with aspiring broadcasters like yourself. And you may not know it, but you and I have a lot in common right now. You're probably a combination of nervous, anxious, and excited to begin your voyage as a professional broadcaster and start the next chapter of your life's journey. I am too, at least the nervous, anxious, and excited part about facing what challenges and opportunities lie ahead. In about a month and a half, my family is packing up. We're moving to Phoenix. My wife has a tremendous job opportunity there, and with my girls set to begin high school and middle school in the fall, the timing seems right to take the plunge. So like you, I have all of these mixed emotions, as I hope that my previous work experience and professional reputation will help land me some work, whether it's on the air or in the classroom, or maybe both in the Valley of the Sun. Now, I mentioned my professional reputation, which leads me into my final thoughts for you guys. Words of wisdom as you move forward starting your broadcasting careers. First and foremost, protect that reputation. It's a lot easier to stoop to someone else's level when the harder choice is to take the high road. But keeping your long-term reputation intact is worth much more than a bad split-second emotional decision. I leave Chicago with my head held high, knowing the quality of work that I put in every day, knowing the respect that others have for my work, thankful for the coworkers who have become my close friends over the years, like you guys bonded during your class time, and knowing that for 19 years I made a mark, albeit a small one, in sports broadcasting in Chicago. Secondly, don't ever burn a bridge. And this goes hand in hand with carrying yourself as a professional. But you never know when you'll cross paths with someone from your past, or when a passing comment, email, or now in the age of social media, tweet or Facebook post comes back to haunt you and prevents you from landing a potentially great opportunity. Third, be versatile. Embrace what you are hired to do, but take the time to learn other skills and talents that might be related somehow to your job. When numbers crunchers come in, like they did for me, maybe your position is saved because you have many abilities and therefore are more valuable than your coworker. Or maybe one of those new skills that you learned is the reason that you're able to land your next position. Fourth, persevere. Don't let people sell you short or let the naysayers get you down. When I chose to major in radio TV at Butler, my mom wanted me to pick a safe backup minor. I said, great, let's go with journalism. Even my own mother once doubted my ability to succeed in broadcasting. Don't doubt yourself. Be your own worst critic, but also stay confident in your ability to get the job done. You have the skills. And finally, enjoy the ride. It's worth it. As you've heard from me, it's a roller coaster with plenty of ups and downs. Savor the ups, battle through the downs, you'll be okay. The work that you've put in here at ICB and what you guys have been able to accomplish up until now, that's what has earned you the ticket to that roller coaster ride. Again, my sincere congrats to all you guys. Best of luck as you begin this new chapter of your lives. I look forward to hearing about all of your future accomplishments. I know from teaching you in class, you all have my cards, you all have my Facebook and Twitter and email address, and I want to hear about all your future accomplishments. Proud to call you now fellow broadcasters. Congratulations.